All right, Chet. I mean, I know all about you, but I just want to ask you a few questions for some of the people that might not know all about you at this point, even though most of them should. The insiders know, but maybe the ones that are listening not. Chet Nicholls. Who is Chet Nicholls? When people ask me, I said Chet Nicholls is, I call it the one who can turn people from a good bodybuilder into a Mr. Olympia. Okay. When people ask me how, I said, I don't know what it is, but he has a way to make it happen. Okay. So I want to talk to you about when did you start coaching? And I know, but for the people to understand, when did you start? How long ago? And what was the reason for you to say, okay, I'm gonna do this with other athletes?
So it really kind of started obviously when, me and Kim kind of got into this together. We kind of started working out. It became very obvious, very quick that Kim had way more genetics than I had. She was going to go way farther than I did. But we didn't know the whole ins and outs really of what we needed to get there. And so while we were headed that direction, I dug into the nutritional part of the stuff as far as I could possibly go. And that's really where it became, that part. We needed that knowledge. We knew we needed that knowledge to get Kim to that next level.
But where did you get all the information from? Though? Did you start reading about it, or you had
into everything? I mean, so I went in the game plan. I was a cop at the time, and so my at the time it just kind of played into things really well. Is that I was basically going to school to run the wellness program on my police department. So that was kind of the game plan. And then bodybuilding kind of took off. And so I was already getting the kind of basic knowledge that I needed as far as that type of education. But we all know that book education plays into bodybuilding, but not completely. Obviously, if it did, then everybody would be, at a certain level because you just read and apply. So I started digging deeper into a lot of I had access. I had a couple really good friends who were doctors who gave me access to these libraries, these journals. They were private for doctors to kind of research. And so I kind of dug in deep into those and just started kind of looking at shit and finding out things myself and started kind of seeing how that could apply based off of how the body, worked. And that's really when it comes to bodybuilding, you've got to figure out a way of bodybuilding science, I guess you would call it, and real science and where they meet in the middle and how they apply to each individual. And that was really kind of where everything took off. And then from there, basically the whole, dream of, working for the police department and running their wellness plan kind of changed. And, I saw this, everybody kind of traveled together. And I mean, you know how that goes.
Yeah.
Am I still on?
Yes, you're still here. Yeah. You froze for a second.
Yeah. Like my thing said unstable for a minute. I'm always unstable, but but basically what ended up happening was I saw this opportunity, from talking to people and stuff. I saw man, they, a lot of them have a pretty in-depth knowledge of what they're doing, but it's not to a T. I could see little mistakes that they were making. And so I saw this opportunity that I felt was really good because there wasn't really anybody doing it. Wasn't anybody really coaching pro athletes or pro bodybuilders at that time. And so I even remember going in, the first time to talking to my lieutenant. I go, man, I think I'm going to take a year's leave of absence, looking at possibly becoming a professional trainer to pro athletes. And he's like, man, that sounds really cool. That sounds like a really good deal. That pay a lot of money. I go, I don't even think it pays anything right now. He's like, oh, that sounds so good then. I go, but I think it could. I think there's the opportunity is there to make some money at this. And I think that it's something that could, turn out in the long run to be a good opportunity.
So you basically your first athlete was your wife, Kim.
100%. 100%.
And she ended up dethroning Linda Murray.
Linda Murray, exactly.
How did you get from Kim all of a sudden to having basically the top 10 guys almost at the Olympia? How did that work?
So how that happened, and it was pretty simple. Again, all of us are together. Kim's conditioning was spot on every time. She showed up in shape every single show, didn't matter what the case was. And at the time, we pushed the women's conditioning to kind of a new level. So she took that conditioning and kind of pushed it to that next level. So people like Nasser, Flex Wheeler, Paul Dillette, which those were three of like the first group that kind of came on board. It was just kind of like we already knew each other, and they were like, you know, each one of them was like, listen, man, I didn't realize you were helping people, because me and Nasser kind of worked out a deal, and that was 97. And a lot of people felt like he pushed Nasser, but I mean, Nasser pushed Dorian about as far as he could possibly be pushed that year, you know.
Arguably, some people had him winning.
Yeah, 100%. And so, you know, and then Dillett that year was also very good. And so then, you know, Flex came on, he was kind of the one that said, hey, listen, I didn't know you were helping people. Man, I would like for you to get, you know, help me for the Arnold. He didn't compete that year.
What year are we talking?
That was 97.
So you got him ready for 97 or for 98?
I got Nasser Paul 97. Flex is at the Olympia. So then Flex is like, listen, I didn't realize you were helping people. I would like for you to get me ready for 98 Arnold. Then of course that was one of his best showings. You know, Arnold.
Right.
From there it just snowballed, obviously.
So everybody started coming. So back then it was, you were the man. Everybody, the Chet Nicholls, you know, if you could get in with Chet, you can get in with Chet. And this is probably the time where where it was the hardest to get a hold of you.
Yeah, for sure.
But
it was a different time too. You got to realize, like, you know, during those, you know, eras, I mean, everything is unique right now because we're used to stuff now. Like, we want information now. We want, you know, pictures now. Like, you know, when a coach now is totally different from back then because everything had to be strategically planned perfect. You would take pictures. They would go out at the same time. I would get them at the same time. So it's a, you know, best case scenario, 24-hour, you know, system.
Right.
And so, I mean, everything had to be precise, but it was a unique time too. It was a time that I, you know, think, you know, I mean, obviously it's easier now. But back then I think everything was so strategic and it was just a unique, you know, time. And I mean, I was younger, obviously able to do a lot more at the time as far as go.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was a point where I had 12 athletes in the Olympia.
I was just about to ask you, what was the most athletes you had in one Olympia? 12.
Well, I mean, that was the year that Vince Taylor came back and competed and looked like I had Vince in that show.
At 45.
Yes, and he looked phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
He got kind of gypped a little bit for being a little too vocal that year, but
I remember that because I was on the same stage.
Yeah.
I think. What year was it?
I don't remember. I'm trying to think. It was probably 99. Maybe?
No. It had to be later. He came back. Remember, I think he qualified.
That's right.
I think he qualified in Australia.
We qualified from the Olympia, I think. Masters Olympia. And then that qualified, I think.
No. The Masters Olympia doesn't qualify you for the Olympia. I think
1 year they did. Remember, 1 year they did. They qualified them. So if you won the Masters Olympia, you got to do the Olympia. I know Don Youngblood did it. But I don't know if Vince did it that way.
Let me see. If I'm not mistaken, but I'm going to look right now.
I don't remember either.
If I'm not mistaken, he did the Olympia this 1 year when he was 45 years old. I don't even know. How old is he today? Somewhere in his 60s.
High 50s probably. Huh? Well, I don't know. I have him on Instagram, and I know it says 50. It's like Vince 50, but he's been on Instagram for a while, so I don't know.
Vince Taylor's, when was his last Olympic? I could swear I was on stage with him.
It was probably 2001, maybe.
Yeah, then I would have been on stage with him, exactly.
That's what I'm thinking now. Now thinking back.
Yeah, and I think he qualified, if I'm not mistaken, in Australia at Tony Doherty's show. Because back then it was still the top three.
Top three, yeah.
Yeah. So 12 guys. So you had to be running from room to room 24 hours.
I literally never slept that day. I mean, the weekend. I literally just room to room to room to room to room.
Because I know people don't understand as a coach, especially how many times you see one person.
I was just like go back then. And I probably got there on Sunday before. And I mean, it was like that the whole week. Yeah. It wasn't like, a lot of the guys didn't get in until maybe Wednesday. You know, some of the key guys came in early, but I mean, it was like crazy. You know,
how hard is it? How hard is it to stay not unbiased when you have? It doesn't matter, 12 or 6. the top 6 guys, everybody thinks he's going to win. Everybody wants the best from the coach. Everybody wants the coach to believe I'm going to win. How hard is it to stay somewhat
it was
neutral?
Yeah, for me, never. It was never that hard. You know what I mean?
But in your mind, now you don't have to say who in your mind.
But I mean, there was points where, you know, Ronnie was so dominant, and I remember looking at other guys and thinking like, "Fuck, they look so good," and then I walk into Ronnie's room and be like, "No, you just by themselves they look good. Ronnie's just different level."
That's what I was saying. You had to think like, damn, this is not even close.
There was points like that for sure, but I was never, you know, like my game, you know, plan was always like get him in the very best shape ever.
Right.
I mean, even the year that Gunther, you know, beat Ronnie. I mean, like I had Gunther in, you know, in that, and you know, going in, I knew like this is gonna be close.
Really? What did that feel like though?
It was, you know, it was good and bad because, you know, I mean, Ronnie was looked at as the guy that was unbeatable. And like, here we are, like I'm taking another guy and beating him. But at the same time, you know, I felt like Ronnie almost needed it. Like he almost, like we had gotten to a point where both of us needed to kind of regroup. And that was 2002. And then without that, we'd have never seen 2003.
Yeah, 2003, he took it to another level.
Oh, that was the game changer.
So Ronnie was pissed, wasn't he?
He was pissed, yeah. And I mean, but he was motivated. And I remember him, you know, thinking like, listen, they're trying to take this shit from me. If they want to take this from me, they're going to have to come and get it. They're going to have to come and get it. They created a monster. Like that's literally, they created a monster. And like, it was nonstop. And normally we would take this long break. And he was like, listen, man, we're going to take about a month break and we're going to go right back to work. Right back.
Yeah, that was crazy. So you were working with Ronnie before the Olympia. When did you start working with Ronnie?
So I started with Ronnie in '98. So I trained flex for the Arnold, and then in '98
for the Night of Champions.
Night of the Champions. Yeah. So it was a little bit earlier than that, but
that was your first show with Ronnie, Night of Champions.
Yes, Night of Champions.
When he came out and just let everybody know this is what's happening right now.
Yep.
Wow.
That was a very good one.
You literally have a way of bringing the best out of people. And I'm saying this because you did the same with me.
No, I appreciate that. And I think, you know, my thing is like, I never tried to adapt the athlete to me. I don't know if that makes sense. I always tried to adapt to the athlete because everybody is so different. You know what I mean? I don't have one way of, you know, I have specific ways that I like to do things, definitely. But I mean, you know, I'm not against like certain training styles and certain diet styles and whatever I think like this athlete will use. You know, I mean, I think that, I mean, I've had guys that were like super watery and we had to do like way different diets than, you know, we would have had to done with, you know, somebody who stays lean all year round. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I mean, I never like tried to, you know, adapt the person to my style. Like, this is the way it's got to be done. I think that's one of the things that's allowed me to kind of, you know, stay in the game for a while.
So what do you look for when now not just pros but amateurs too? What do you look for in an athlete when they contact you and say, "Hey, I would like you to be my coach"? What do you look for? Do you ask them for pictures? Do you ask for information? How do you make the decision that's okay? I'll give it a shot.
Obviously, I mean, you know, pictures play into it, but at the same time, like, you know, I'm not looking for, you know, a Mr. Olympia every single time. Like, I'm looking for a guy. Usually I can tell pretty quick right off like a couple communications. Like if the messages are super short, if they're just like, how much do you charge? This and that, everything's very basic. I realize this is going to be like somebody that's not going to communicate well. This is going to be somebody that's not like on point with everything. But if I get a message from somebody and they literally like take the time and write out, you know, 15 paragraphs of just the most like little things and stuff, that's the guy instantly that I'm like, okay, this guy's actually serious. You know what I mean? Like this guy took the time to write out like what he is looking for, what his goals are, what he has done, you know, like he's taken the time to give me the information that I need. And then, you know, but I mean, there's always times when I think somebody's going to do something and they don't. You know, as good as I do, like communication is key. And, you know, you can't like drag communication out of people. Like it's just impossible. And I mean, I know there's a lot of clients that are like, well, communication wasn't great with this guy. And so I want to change coaches and stuff. And I get that. Some guys aren't like that. But at the end of the day, most of that, because I'll have people contact me and be like, yeah, I've been with like 4 coaches already. And, you know, I just can't really find my thing. And I'm like, I'm like, okay.
That's a red flag right there.
Yeah, where this shit's headed. And, you know, some guys just aren't good at communicating and like, but those guys that are just, you know, initiate, you know, contact all the time, every week. Hey man, I just want to let you know it's a great week, this and that, da, 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 or
give you feedback. Yes.
Yeah. My sleeping was way off this week. I don't know. Just something weird. My stomach felt this way, da, 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 da. Those are gold mine guys. Like, I don't care if that's at the novice level or at the pro level. Like those are the guys that you realize that you can help. Like you can actually help. But the guys that just take the information and then you don't hear from them from a month, and then, you know, those guys are just, you know, hard to help.
But it happens a lot. People, you know, and this is what I do. I tell people, make sure you in off season send me pictures for 4 weeks.
Yes.
You know, and if they don't send the pictures, what do you want me to do?
Yeah. And then, like, you know, I mean, there's a lot of times where you're trying to drag information out of people. You know what I mean? And it's like, listen, I can only like manipulate stuff based off of like, I'm not a fucking magician.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I don't know what you look like, what you're thinking, how your body's responding. I need like stuff like that. And I think guys, especially, they get into this, you know, mindset of like, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to bust ass and I'm going to train hard and I'm fucking training hard. So what else is there to do? You know, this and that, just tell me what to do.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, listen, I can tell you what to do, but I got to know what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way I've always been. I want to know. And I tell everybody right off the bat, like, I don't care how small it is. Like, man, like you have trouble going to the bathroom for 2 days. I want to know. Like, I want to know that there's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care what it is. And those are the guys that I look for, you know, as far as like helping people, you know.
So going back to the Olympia with these guys. So you had the top guys for a long time. When you basically running almost everybody on the Olympia stage that was placing was under Chat. And then there was a time all of a sudden where Chat slowed down, and all of a sudden Chat not disappeared, but was gone from working with the top guys. Because most of the guys that you work with, they were gone, retired. And then there was a phase where it was quiet around Chat. What happened? Did you get tired? Did you think about retiring from?
I did get burnt out a little bit, you know, I mean, because it was just go. And then, you know, after Ronnie, it's kind of like, shit, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, where do you go from here? How do you top that? You know, and I mean, so that, you know, that's kind of one thing. It was interesting too, though, because there was all these classes coming, you know, onto the scene that we hadn't seen before, which I thought was great. And I promote shows, and I can always continue to promote shows.
Right.
So what really happened was, so along that time, 2003, we ended up having a kid, our first son. And so we have Dominic, and then 3 years later we have Morgan. And it was during that time that I was like, listen, do I want to be gone all the time? Do I want to miss like all of this shit? Or do I want to kind of back off and, you know, make sure that I don't miss anything? Like, I don't want to be looking 15 years from now being like, yeah, I missed birthdays and this and miss that, and all this kind of stuff. So I shut way down. We focused more on the, you know, like the shows and the promotions and stuff, which at the time was a really good, like, the shows were really big at that time. So it was, you know, it was easy to, you know, we had 6 shows at the time. And so it was easy to focus mainly on the promotional side of things, back off, you know, and just be with the kids.
So what made
older?
What made you decide to? I don't even know after how many years to say, all right, let me go do this again. I'm ready.
Back. So the kids got older, and of course they've been around bodybuilding their entire life. They both started basically weight training because of sports. And so they really kind of drove me even back into wanting to train a little bit harder, a little bit more. And then everything progressed, and, you know, they started like seeing the shows, and then I got a little bit more, you know, interested, and then kind of like the hunger was there. And so I kind of started back, just kind of gradually started back. and until the point where I was kind of like hungry and like wanted to prove a point, and then it just kind of, took off again.
So after you came back, who was the first athlete that you worked with again as a pro?
Man, maybe Pekulski.
That was after you returned.
I think so.
I thought.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought
that might have been in the middle. That might have been in the middle somewhere a little bit.
Yeah, I think Ben was like the Arnold. He competed in the Arnold where he placed like second or third.
Yes. That was me kind of dabbling in it a little bit. You know what I mean? I had several guys. I had a guy from Bulgaria, Dobromir. I had, of course, Kevin Jordan that I've, trained, for quite a while. Trying to think who was the first big name guy though. Right off the bat, there was quite a few. Yeah. I can't.
How's Kevin doing?
Kevin's doing good. He's starting to realize, like, man, my time's like starting to come. So I need.
How old is Kevin? I don't even know how old he is.
He's cranking in the high 30s right now.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? So, he's a guy that I've always said Kevin could have been whatever he wanted to be. Like, he could have been that good. But he likes to go out and have fun and do his things and stuff. But he's starting to gradually, realize, like, hey, man, I'm only going to be able to do this for so long. And so he's wanting to step on, things a little bit, get a little bit more serious and stuff. But, it is what it is. Like,
a little bit more serious doesn't sound too convincing.
Yeah.
I saw him compete in, was it Texas? I think in Texas Pro he competed. Last August.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, man, what happened, man? What are you doing? Because it was disappointing for him.
Yeah.
And he was straightforward. He said, hey, man, I just partied too much, man. It's like
that's his thing. He likes to go out and have fun, and I get that stuff. But I keep telling him, I'm like, dude, you just don't realize how good you could be.
Yeah.
You have everything. You have all the tools. Like, most people would die to have your genetics, those fucking clavicles that are so fucking wide, and everything.
He has it all. True, he has it all.
Genetic as hell, dude. Got strength, got power, like, structure, tiny waist, can get in shape. He's got everything. It's just basically being consistent and just grinding. You know what I mean? And that's the thing right now. Like, we went away from that for a while. If you notice, like, we went away from that. We saw conditioning that was really mediocre. The guys they weren't like that consistent group. And I know every era is going to say, like, I train harder than anybody. But I'm telling you, like, they didn't when it was, like, important. Like, the times when it needed to be. They were getting it done, but not to the extent that we're seeing now. Now we're seeing a lot of young guys that live this lifestyle, that are basically never miss a meal. Everything is timed perfect. They're in the gym every day. They're hitting it 100% every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're seeing that now. We're seeing some young guns come up that are basically setting the tone for the next several years.
So what would you what would you say what was the reason for, in the last, let's say, I don't know how many years, that the condition wasn't really up to?
I'm 100% sold on social media because it was all brand new, and social media became the stage. And so you've seen this whole new group of guys come in, and we're seeing it now, but they're figuring out how to manage it a little bit better now, use it to their advantage. But when it was new, like, all they had to do is throw up some pictures here and there. And some of these guys were making a little money on social media and on YouTube, but it basically just made them into something different. They weren't like those guys like Dorian that just disappeared and went into, a dungeon and fucking came out a monster. Those guys were all different, so, and that's what I think we went away from. Now we're finding those guys that don't have a problem, day in and day out, like, just living that, like, reclusive bodybuilding lifestyle.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I feel the same. I think social media is taking a lot of time away from the gym.
It's good. I'm telling you, there's no doubt. I have, like, my ups and downs with social media because it takes so much time and to do so much. And, and some people go overboard. They buy into the shit so much. Like, people from that you don't even know, like, can say shit and you see these guys like fucking arguing with them and stuff. I'm like, what? Dude, you don't even know who this person is.
Yeah.
Dude, this could be somebody literally trolling you. It could be somebody just an idiot. Like, I mean, you don't have any. You're never going to see this person.
Right.
Never going to talk to this person. Why are you arguing with this person?
Yeah.
Like my kids are great at it because like they literally, you know, like Kim's probably the one that gets the most emotional about it. She's like, you shouldn't want to see anybody, you know, talk bad about anybody. And she gets, you know, so angry. She'll be like, this person said this and this. I'm
Yeah.
You gotta ignore these people. But my kids come from that video background where those motherfuckers are ruthless on video games. They are crazy. And so they're like, you know, right off the bat, like the first time Morgan started like building a following, and there was like some negative stuff on them. I'm like, you got to just ignore that. He's like, oh, like I can care less.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you sure it doesn't bother you? No, I think it's funny as hell.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, because you get used to it, you know, and eventually.
It doesn't even phase them. Not at all, man.
Talking about your kids. You got the strongest kids. I mean, how old is Morgan? Is the older one, right?
Dom's the older one.
The Dominic is the older one. Morgan, how old is Morgan now?
So Morgan's 15.
He's 15 now. What does he bench press?
So this is crazy. So he just hit 405 for almost a double, which is the strongest. He's hit it before as a double, but he got hurt playing football this year. So he was a freshman, started middle linebacker at the varsity level. So he went literally from 8th grade to varsity, and then like literally 2 days before the second district game, he gets hurt in practice where he fractures his growth plate. And so we were really cautious about that. Like and it's funny, like everybody's like, oh, weightlifting can mess with your growth plates. And I'm like, man, I don't, you know, like impact sports are way worse on your growth plates. And then we end up fucking, you know, he ends up breaking a growth plate playing football. So he took 3 months off, never touched a weight, didn't do shit, walked into the gym after a 3-month break and bench pressed it was in a cast still with his leg up. So no leg drive, 365 for 2. And then, so he still took a little bit extra time off, literally walks in a gym and 3 weeks later benches 405.
That's a 15-year-old. This is
insane.
This is unheard of.
Yeah, I've never seen anything. Like I've seen some amazing, like kids that are strong. Like I've never seen anybody like that.
Is he stronger than Morgan, considering his age?
So Morgan's a young one, and he is.
I mean, Dominic. Is he stronger than Dominic?
I've never benched 405 ever.
That's
The
crazy.
most he ever did was 390.
Is he getting that from you or from Kim?
So Kim's father. So he's getting.
So you don't want to give the credit to Kim. You give it.
Genetically, Kim's a freak of nature.
Yeah.
So Dom's physique, and I'll tell you about that in a minute, but the strength comes from the father, because Kim said that there was her father was a football coach all of his life. And she said there would be times when he wouldn't train for 6 months, and the guys would be lifting in the gym, in the football gym, and he would literally just lay down without warming up and hit 405 for 5. Just genetic raw.
Yeah. I remember last year, not 2020 Olympia, you had Morgan with you.
Morgan, yeah.
And I remember we were training with Ramy, and he trained with us, and I treated him the exact same. Yeah. And he was using the same weights. I was like, this is a 14-year-old boy. First of all, I couldn't even believe it, just the size and the stature of him. I mean, same with Dominic. I mean, Dominic, I remember Dominic running around in my room with the same long hair. Yeah.
And destroying shit.
And then see him here, and at the last Olympia, I was like, damn, I don't even know. I said, am I that old? These guys grow up to be monsters, man. Unbelievable.
Morgan, and it's crazy. Morgan, his whole goal is football. Everything is driven around football. So he trains a little bit different, but he's training, with Dom, he trains a little bit different. Everything's literally geared toward explosiveness and strength for football. But Dom, in the last 8 months, has kind of transitioned into bodybuilding.
So he wants to compete.
So that's what he wants to do now. Yes, he is 100% set. So basically from the beginning of last year, he basically kind of started eating cleaner and stuff because he was done playing football basically. And so he basically kind of, transitioned into it, just very gradual, and his body just exploded. Now that's Kim. That's Kim's genetics.
Yeah.
I've watched him in the last probably 6 months just transition.
So now he's 15. How tall is he?
No, so Dom's 18.
No. I mean Morgan.
So Morgan's 15. He's 5'11".
5'11". How heavy is he now?
So he's right now he's probably 207, 205 to 207.
That's crazy. That's crazy. What I would like to go. I would like to see him in school, sitting in class with all the other students.
Yeah. What's crazy is like, because he played varsity ball, and so you have all these seniors and everybody, and like seeing him out there, and like in my brain, it registers that he's a freshman, and yet he's literally just as big as everybody else. Maybe, there were some taller kids than him, obviously, but like physique wise, maturity level, everything,
It's crazy. Yeah. Way ahead. Awesome. Let's talk about the big man. Big Ramy. Big Ramy contacts you. Was it like late 2019 or mid 2019?
Yeah, it was like July of 19. Yeah.
July of 19. Contact you. How long did it take you to decide yes?
It was kind of funny because so I had just seen that he was over here, right? He was guest posing for Victor Martinez.
Oh, in New York.
Yeah. So he comes over here and guest posts. I see him and I'm thinking like he looked like he was in decent shape, but he was kind of downsized a little bit. I'm like, I wonder what he is doing. So I send a message to Victor and I go, hey man, what's Ramy doing? Like, what's he doing? He goes, so he calls me back. He goes, hey, listen, we were just talking about you. We're just talking about you, and like Ramy wanted me to get a hold of you. And I'm like, dude, I was just like, I hope we're thinking the same thing, because I said, I'm obviously a big fan, and I've said for years, like, it's almost brutal to watch him
not hitting his peak.
Yes, like not hit it. And so I said, what's his game plan? He goes, right now, we don't know. Da, 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 da. I said, in Victor, I was talking to Victor. Victor's like, let me put you guys in contact and let's see what happens. So, Ramy calls me and we start talking, and it was instantaneous. Like I knew within just seconds of talking to him about it, like the direction he wanted to go and what he was doing and everything. It was done deal.
Done deal.
And I knew where it could go fast too.
Yeah. And it didn't take you nothing but a year for him to basically come to the Olympia after.
He was there. He was there.
Yeah.
He was already set, you know what I mean?
I mean, you got the first show you guys did was the Arnold in Columbus, 2020.
2020. And we messed that one up. I messed that one up. I'll take, responsibility for that. But the prep was, we had most all of the questions answered going into that prep. Yeah. So we knew everything that we needed to know. We learned everything we needed to know.
And you told him, he said, after the show, I said, you'll never lose another show.
I said that. Yeah, I told him 100%. I said, listen, I'm going to tell you right now. I said, we have all the questions answered. I said, I've seen everything that I need to see. I know exactly how your body responds. You're never going to lose another show. I said, no chance. And I was 100% convinced in my head that is never going to happen.
Fast forward, 2020 Olympia, he gets a special invite.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Comes in at his all-time best, wins the Olympia. Nobody expected it. Nobody saw him coming.
Nothing. It wasn't even, dude. I was watching like all the YouTubers and the fitness guru, internet guys, or whatever. He wasn't on anybody's top 5.
No, he wasn't.
No one.
He wasn't. He wasn't. So,
and the whole time I'm looking at pictures going,
all right. When did you think during the prep? This looks like this. He can do this year.
At about 6 weeks out, I thought if everything progresses, we're going to be in business. And then about a week after he got to your house, I knew, like, man, for somebody to beat him, they're going to have to be on the money.
Yeah.
Because I knew everything that he had. I knew everything he had. Like, I just didn't see. And he matched up with everybody, but like when he turned to the side, I was like, it's game over. It's over.
So how was it? What was it like? Because I know you sat in this, you had your seat, and you see him in the room, you see him all the time, exactly. But there's still this little bit of thing. Is that how is it going to transition to the stage?
Exactly. How's he going to look under the lights?
So when he came out, the first on Friday night, 2020, for his mandatories. When did you exhale in your seat saying, all right, we good?
Yeah. So I looked at everybody, right? Watched everybody walk out. And of course, Phil's in the show. And I think, okay, Phil looks pretty good. Like when he first came out.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Brandon, okay. Hottie, same thing. And then when he came out and he was like doing his turns, and I'm like, I was over to the side just a little bit, and I'm like, oh shit. And then he went back and came back and ended on that side shot, and I go, it's over. I go, it's over. I said, if this is if everything's good, it's over with. It's over with. And then of course several other guys faded, and he literally, like Ramy, and I mean, this, like, looked like a statue. It didn't matter if it was in the lineup, when he was hitting poses, like he was first one in, last one out, in his stance the whole time. It stood out like a sore thumb. Like, I mean,
it looked like everything came together at the perfect time. It couldn't have been any better at that time. I mean, I think it was the best he could be. Now, of course, after the Olympia win, the goal is now next year it's going to be even better.
And the second one is tough. The second one is tough too.
The second one is tougher. Yeah, I think so too, because there's more pressure. But now most people do know. They do know it now, but it might be a few that doesn't know that after that Olympia 2020 December, he didn't really train for how long?
So we first got back to legitimately training in July.
July. Now we're talking 3 months before the Olympia.
3 months. Yeah. And when I say that, everybody's like, well, he had to go train. There was probably, and I'm going to say 8, maybe 9 times that, he would go one day and he'd be like, I'm going to get it done.
Yep.
And it wasn't there.
Yeah.
And, 3 weeks later, he goes back to the gym one day and it's just not there.
Yeah.
Like he's just, he's going through some personal things, and he's got, all of the pressure of the Olympia, like all of this shit is starting to snowball. And I mean, of course,
yeah.
and a lot of people do, but Ramy is this very passionate, like, individual. Like it all has to be like just kind of perfect, and like perfect harmony. You know what I mean? And that was just interrupted completely going in. So he's trying to wrap his head around everybody. And then of course, like, look, he's a mega star in Egypt now. So he's got everybody pulling him 15 different directions, and he realizes how much pressure is, at this. And there was a point where, I kept kind of leading into it. I was like, we got to go. We got to, like, we're running out of time. I said, the one thing that we can't get back is time. And I said, right now, I said, you're good if we get you in the gym and train, da, 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 da. And there was probably 2 points that we went through that. It started probably in June. And then we got to July, and I go, Ramy, we're out of time. Like, we are out of time.
Where did you tell yourself, listen, that you're going to get started, and did you say, okay, I'm going to see what happens in the next 4 weeks and then decide if it's worth it or not?
100%. Like, here's what I told him. I said, here's my thinking. I go, dude, we're in a situation where we did not want to be. And I said, I don't know if we got enough time to get there. And I said, the one thing that I can't reproduce is time in the gym. And so now we're trying to create something with the body that's not actually there. We're trying to create this dense kind of hardness to the muscle that actually takes time under weight, right? And it's something that's different, that, you have to really kind of take things to a different level. And so I even told him, I said, listen, I said, this diet's actually going to be worse than last year's diet, because we're going to have to get someplace earlier to end up with that harder look that we are now chasing. And I said, it's going to be harder. It's going to be worse. And I said, and he even told me, he said, listen, if we get to a point and you don't think I can win, if you don't think in your heart I can win, tell me. I want to know. I'm not going here to lose. And I said, listen, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I said, we're running out of time. We got to get it done. And then that was when, and you'll know this, like, I called you and I go, we got to get him to your house. Like, we now are in a situation that if we just keep spinning, like, we're getting to a good place. now we got to take it to that next level. And I said, we got to get him to your house. I said, whatever it takes to get there. And I called you, and then I immediately called, Ramy, and I said, listen, you got to go now. I said, I don't know what you have in store, but you got to go. And then I think he had a some kind of commercial that had been like booked in advance or something that he had to film. And I said, listen, the day after that, you got to get on a plane. You got to get to Dennis. Like we're going to run out of time. We got to get there and get it done. And then luckily we were able to get it done.
Yeah. You pulled it off. You pulled it off. It was close on Friday.
Yeah. I thought Friday, I thought it was close. I mean, it was, there were some guys good on Friday, but I thought he clearly won on Friday. Saturday is when I thought it was close. Like
you thought he was close on Saturday?
Yes, I thought that he was improved, but I thought Hadi had improved.
Oh, it was
too, right? And so it was a little bit closer between different guys and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think that Hadi had already been was out of the running on Friday. In reality, he got kind of saved on Friday because he could have been really low on Friday, in my opinion. But then on Saturday, he looked phenomenal. So I knew that there was already enough distance that we weren't at risk, right? But I thought that was the closest battle that had ended up all weekend.
Yeah, but you know what's funny though, and I think we talked about this. When Friday night, it looked to me like they had Hardy out of the top 4 or 5.
I think he was legitimately out of the top 4 or 5, but I think they saved him.
I know, but what saved him though?
I think the judges did. I think the judges were kind of like, listen, we're gonna kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. It's close enough that we can kind of keep him in there. And if on Saturday night he comes in and looks like this again, we can put him right. We can put him right.
I'm just going off the scorecards because the scorecards had him in straight third place on Friday.
Yeah.
Just the call-outs didn't really,
but yeah, I mean,
didn't look like it.
And I'm a big Hadi fan, so don't take anything from this. But like when you stood him next to like Hunter Labrada, like no way.
Yeah.
Like I'm telling you, like he was flat. He was very small from the side. He had Hadi always has really good, muscle that pops in certain areas, but standing even next to Walker, like Walker's so thick, from front to back, and he's just like so dominant in certain shots. It's like I just didn't see how any way he was going to match those guys. But I think just kind of was like, okay, we're going to save him, a little bit, and because I think if they wouldn't have, then he would have been like too far down to be moved into a position. And I think where he plays, he deserved. Like, I think he was right in there.
Yeah.
I think it was close between him and Brandon,
So Ramy winning his second Olympia, I mean, all of us swear. It was like, I dropped a stone out of my drawers,
I don't like it to be that close. Like, I don't like it to be like, I want to be under control of everything and have everything just come down. But most of the time it doesn't work out like that. You know what I mean? And so it was one of those things where we had to push and push and push to get there. And then we had to just keep pushing the whole weekend and we got it done. We got it done. Yeah. But the good thing is it sets us up for a really, really good situation.
It's kind of like 2002 and 2003 Ronnie.
Yes.
Because when you compare Ramy 2020 to 21, what do you say?
So, I mean, what I see is he's downsized just a little bit, but it's mainly, again, because he lacks time in the gym. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't have that, like, dense look to the muscle. The muscle's not, like, pushing super, super hard. Even though his conditioning was great, you know what I mean? It was that intricate little stuff that I saw. Downsized a little bit, through the tricep, downsized a little bit, through the pecs a little bit, through the upper pec a little bit in certain shots. But overall, like what I see is just that denseness to the muscle. Like that's what we need. That's the look that will carry him. Fucking out of the league of everybody.
I basically told him the same thing because right after the Olympia, when we were on the way back, I said, "Listen, you can never do this again."
Yeah.
I told him straight up. I said, "If you come looking like this next year," I said, "you're not going to win it."
Well, there's guys chasing.
Yes. I said, you can't.
Away with
it. I said, best case scenario happened because you won, even though he wasn't at his best.
Right.
So next year, I said, you can't not train. And I got to say, he's been training since day after fucking the Olympia. He has not stopped training yet.
And then here's the good thing. I mean, what we did was we set up a game plan to basically use this time to continue to train, to maintain and just keep pushing that body back to kind of where we need it to be.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, get healthy. Make sure the body cleanses, detox, and get all of his, numbers back on his blood work. Get him to a point where his body is ready to go for the rest of the year.
Right.
And that's where he's at right now.
So
he's in a really good spot right now.
He's in a really good spot. Yes. And so what's the game plan? What is your game plan for Ramy this year?
So here's the game plan, and I've said this the whole time, and people are like, "Oh, Ramy doesn't need to be any bigger." Ramy could be bigger. I'm telling you.
I'm glad you're saying it right now because people don't. Hold on one second. Don't forget what you want to say, because people don't know that Ramy was at his lightest ever this last year. Yes. People don't know. They don't even know the number. Yeah. Go ahead, Chad. Go ahead.
So, but here's the thing. So most people, because he had been so big in the past, coming in at 310 pounds and all this shit, they're so afraid of that they're like, he can't be big, because they think that if he gets to 310 pounds, that's how he's going to look. But that isn't the way he's going to look.
Right.
And, because our game plan hasn't changed. Like, our game plan is still conditioning. But at the same time, you take an entire year of training, which he probably hasn't had for numerous years now,
mm-hmm.
like legitimate year, dedicated to bodybuilding, pushing as hard as with everything timed perfect. There's no telling what he's capable of.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at for sure 25% better.
Yeah.
From last year.
Yeah.
From last year to this year, 25% easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
I totally agree, because I think that, if he comes in a little bigger, those areas that he kind of lost a little bit will fill out again.
100%.
And I believe with this time that he's been training and with the time that he has until December, I think we will see a 300-pound shredded Ramy on stage.
I do too, because, we were very close at the Arnold in 2020.
Right.
We were under 300, but we were just under 300. And then, my brain says like, hey, listen, based off of how he looks and everything, like, this has got to be the carb process, because he's so big, right? But his body is so efficient. Like, it's just a different process. But he was already right there. Like, he was already right there. So there's no doubt that there's the potential to be 300 to 304, somewhere in that ballpark, in better shape than he's been in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Because the little bit bigger fullness with him pushes against that muscle, deepens up everything to a almost exaggerated look. And I think that's, plus, time in the gym, that gives us that, dense, maturity to that muscle for an extended period of time that, again, like, can't be reproduced any other way.
The goal is for me to go to Dubai to train with him.
Yeah, and that would be, I think, if we, if that works out for you guys, several times, throughout this year, that would be key.
That's the goal. The goal, man, for me, it would be perfect not to stay there for 3 months, because that's a long time, but to go for a month on, month off, and just come back for another month. 'Cause that's enough, because they got Ramadan coming up in April. There's not much happening there anyway. So, but we'll definitely want to get the workouts in, because he trains better when he gets pushed.
100%. That's one of the game plans right now, is like, this first phase basically runs through Ramadan. And so we're going to grind, basically bring his weight up, get it into a certain point. Then we're going to use Ramadan to basically kind of refine back a little bit. We're going to basically harden up that muscle, use all of that time, because he can only eat during a certain period of time. So we're going to try to make sure that insulin sensitivity is at an all-time high coming out of Ramadan, those types of things. And then we'll go into phase 2 right after Ramadan, which, starts May 2nd. So May 3rd, we're going to come out of the gate, boom, running right into it. And again, like, we get a couple extra months for this Olympia prep, since it's in December. Like the outcome on paper is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I kind of feel the same way. I feel the same way.
But I told him, I said, listen, this could be your 2003 Ronnie year. This could be a year. Like I said, we can't just win. Like if you go in and win, then you're just another Mr. Olympia, setting up a string of Olympia wins. I go, you got to go in and climb atop another mountain.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do. You got to distance yourself from the pack. And I said, you literally, everything is in front of you right now. You're in the driver's seat to do that. Yeah. All you got to do is drive.
I told him the exact same thing. I said, when you come out Friday night, just by walking out, people got to say, it's over.
Over.
Yeah.
That's the key, man.
Yeah.
And you know how that is. Like, that's the best feeling in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, I mean, obviously, people don't want to see this, but back in the day, the key was to get one call out. That was the goal. Like, you get called out in the center, quarter turn, back in line.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
We don't see you no more.
No.
You walk off stage like game over. Now, obviously, judging's changed a lot, and they want to see the comparisons for the fans and all of that kind of stuff. But you still want that type of feeling, like lights out.
In your mind, who's the biggest threat to Ramy?
I mean, I don't necessarily think that there's a guy that is a threat to Ramy that's competing right now.
When he's on, yeah.
If based off of him, like his biggest threat is him. Like if something happens and he isn't able to do what needs to do, then he basically opens the door for everybody else to step just a little closer.
Right.
And then it becomes close. But Ramy in 100% work mode, I don't think anybody is close right now. Now, I mean, that's not taking anything away. We got some guys, we got Hottie, we got Labrada, we got, Nick Walker, I mean, Brandon Curry's still in the mix, for right now. I mean, those guys are all good, at least two of those guys are young, hungry, athletes that are now at the top trying to move forward. So, you got to keep an eye on those guys. But I mean, there's some guys, that's coming up that are like freaks of nature, and those are the guys that you want to see. Guys like Andrew Jacked, those are amateur guys that's more than likely going to turn pro. I mean, that's a 6'2" guy who looks like he's literally at the beginning stages of just what he's possible of.
Wouldn't he be someone that would be a perfect fit for you too?
Oh my God, dude! I look at him and you can just tell like. He's gotten to where he is by damn near accident.
Yeah.
Like he trained with Larry Wheels and all that heavy weight, like all of this process, he's got there, but he's still at the beginning stages of tapping into what he has.
Of his real potential, yeah.
Like I don't think he understands like what he has. Yeah. But I think, I'm not saying it's him, but I mean, he's got the potential to be a freak because he's 6'2".
And it looks like he filled out his frame.
Yeah,
so he
if you fill that frame out at 6'2", that's a hard comp. Like we haven't seen really that much.
Paul Dillette was the last one.
Dillette, yeah. I mean, those guys, like I think that's like we're gonna see a tall guy like that. That's the next freak.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
So Andrew, if you listen to this,
give us a call.
Yeah. All right, so let me ask you just one more thing before I let you go, because I know you'll probably got some other stuff to do. You just mentioned the newer guys. Nick Walker, you see this guy just weighing 300 pounds in crazy shape?
Crazy, yeah. I mean, and I'm telling you, like, here's the thing, like we were talking about earlier, this is a guy that everything he does is a calculated move for bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Everything he does. Those are things that we haven't seen, and, I mean, granted, he's short and he filled out very rapidly and quick, but at the same time, like you just, even the shorter guys, because everybody kind of says like, oh, well, he's short, of course it's this, but even shorter guys, you don't see fill out their complete skeletal structure. He's in the like range of filling out completely.
Yeah.
Like
300 pounds.
And his front to back thickness is silly.
Yes.
It's silly looking. You know what I mean? And I like the way he trains. Like he trains very like
Controlled. Yeah.
control heavy, but still like controlled. You can tell that connection is to the like is just locked in.
Yeah.
He can individualize each muscle group. He can make the best out of it, during each training session without like overdoing shit. Like he's locked in.
Yeah.
But the thing I like about him is I like him because he is what he is. He's not trying to act like, some genius or some, this guy or some expert trainer or whatever. Just kind of does his thing, but he's locked in. And I like that new group that's like that. Labrada, I think, is the same way.
Looks ridiculous now too.
He's in phenomenal shape all the goddamn time.
Yeah.
This kid is never out of shape. He's gradually, moving. I mean, obviously his father is a phenomenal champion who's, overwatching everything that he does, is, seeing everything he does and kind of, grooming him along, making sure he does everything the right way. And I mean, he's another one that just looks ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this Nick and Hunter both are going to move up even more next year.
I think that they are the future. There are two guys that's going to be battling for a long time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think they're both unique, in their own way, but both very, very likable guys, very, very
Right.
much good for the sport.
Yeah.
Very good for the sport.
All right. To finish this podcast, brother, give me your top 5 at the Arnold coming up in March.
Oh shit. The Arnold.
I know. I have to put you on a spot. You know the lineup, right?
I don't have it exactly.
Okay, I'll give you a couple of names: Brandon Curry, William Bonac, Justin Rodriguez, Brett Wilkins, Steve Kuklo, Max Charles.
So here's what I think. I mean, I'm trying to think if I know Cedric's in there.
Cedric's in it. Yep.
Some others, but so I think Curry's going to win this. I've always thought that Curry's going to win this. I think that just at the level that he's at right now, based off of, where everybody else is at, if he shows up anywhere close, I don't think anybody beats him. But I think after that, I think it becomes interesting because you've got some new guys. I think Kuklo, if he nails it, I think is in the mix. But I think Wilkins is a guy that has come up and, he's got a lot of hype right now. He still has a lot to prove, for me to believe it, but he's in there. Like he's in the mix. Like we can't say he's like over the hump yet because, when he competed last time, I thought structurally he's solid. He's good. His conditioning is good. He's another kid that, again, very regimented, very on point with bodybuilding, is moving up, is doing everything the right way. He could be a problem. Like if he is in shape, if he's added, let's say 10 pounds of tissue onto that frame from last year, he could be a big problem.
What about William?
So I think William's going to fall in this lineup. I think that he is going to be undersized a little bit. I think that the things that he has lacked over the last couple of years is finally starting to catch up with him. I think that he was downsized a little bit this year, and his conditioning was also behind a little bit this year. He has had very
last year.
I mean, last year, yes. I keep saying this year. We're in 2022. Last year, but I think he's had very little time to correct that.
Okay.
And so, based off of the pictures that I'm seeing right now, he is, again, I've seen him transition very fastly. You can't really count him out, but he's not impressing me right now compared to maybe where some of these other guys are.
Yeah, that's strange. I don't know why, but he impressed me. I just literally filmed the podcast before you with him.
Oh, and you like him?
Yeah, and he told. I asked him. I said, because I saw the double biceps. He was full, thick.
I seen a shot with hands together where you could see his core, and I thought he looked soft for where like he normally is.
I don't know. I think for
back shot
that was 9 weeks out though.
Yeah. The back shot I saw where he looked thick, but it's a weird angle, so he looks kind of bunchy in the
So,
angle.
anyways, I just talked to him and he told me, I said, listen, this is for him. He changed some things.
Yeah.
He will announce that, and he's up in weight where he usually is, 4 kilos up, which is about 10 pounds. From where he normally is at this point. And he says that his legs, finally, he's able to train his quads the way he really wanted to.
That was my biggest thinking, because I haven't seen his legs. They're covered up, which usually is the telltale
No,
that they're not bigger, right?
he literally just told me that his quads got so big that he has to consider stop training him a little bit because he thinks he's a little out of proportion.
Out of balance.
Yeah. I said, your quads then came up that much? He said, yeah.
We'll see.
I said,
I think, obviously, if he's in shape and big, he could beat Brandon.
Yeah.
If he's that big, you know what I mean? Because obviously, Brandon's got some weaknesses that he isn't going to correct,
Right.
So, he's not going to correct the legs. He's going to, we know that they're going to have to bring him in full to where those legs stay a little bit fuller, but so he's going to lack a little bit of conditioning from that point.
So do you think that's the strategy for the Arnold for him, knowing that there's a new guy like Brett Wilkins that will probably come in super peeled?
I think he's going to come in big, but as hard as he possibly can, staying big. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And probably, the best Brandon's looked was probably the year he won the Arnold, in my opinion.
2019.
Yeah, that was probably the best he's looked. If he can come back to something like that, he'll be hard to beat.
Yeah.
But if Wilkins has structure, he has decent size. Granted, he's still got to come up a little bit, but he had decent size last year. He's bigger this year based off of how he looks right now. He was in shape last year, so you got to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's going to be in shape.
Mm-hmm.
So, he could be a problem. He matches Brandon structurally. Obviously Brandon's got that freaky back and that width and, that shoulder to waist ratio. But Wilkins isn't far off of that. And I think he might be bigger. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
We'll see. It's going to be exciting. Bro, you're going to be in Columbus, right?
I'm not.
Can't
travel. I can't actually travel. Because of everything that I've been going through this year with the.
So, but you're good now. Everything's good.
Good. The infection's gone, so I'm done with the infection. But the damage that it created to my spine, I'd have some stuff done. So I had some stuff put into my spine. So I can't. And I had this. This has been about a month ago. But I can't fly for actually almost another 7 weeks.
So you're still in pain?
I'm in tremendous pain.
Ouch! Still.
Basically, that's the biggest issue right now. So basically, the infection that was encapsulated on my spine eroded basically all the nerves and everything. So basically, it was like stripped, the coating of a wire off your nerves. So now my nerves just misfire all the time and shit. So they got stuff put into my spine, which is more. I'm actually one of 100 that's had it done. And it's basically like a smart shot that's supposed to reconnect and rejuvenate the nerve connections of the spine. And so we'll see how that works.
That shit sounds painful, man. Bro, rest up, heal up, because we need you, brother.
We're going to have a good year, man.
All right, my man. Listen, give my love to the family, man. Thank you for coming on, brother. I appreciate you. Take care, my man.
Listen, I got to tell you one thing.
Go ahead.
At least once or twice a week, my oldest son, Dominic. So he, like I said, he's doing bodybuilding stuff now, and he's getting big. But he comes in and he watches your Q&A.
Tell him I want to bring him on one time.
Dude, he's afraid that you're going to do. He's like, you don't think you would bring me on because I don't want to go on there. I don't want to talk. I don't want to watch you do that. But he's like, you're not going to believe this guy that was on Dennis's podcast. This dude took his shirt off, and Dennis was telling him, no, put your shirt back. He said, dude, he twice a week.
Yeah, I do it usually Wednesdays and Sundays. I used to be when Corona hit, when everything was locked down, I was on there almost every day. I was having a ball with those guys, Some of the guys it is fun. It's fun. Tell the boys I said what's up, my man, okay?
Oh, man,
all right, take care, Chad. Be safe. Bye-bye.
I appreciate it.